Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Anyreach Roundtable, where we explore how AI is transforming the way we work. I'm your host, Richard Lin, the CEO of Anyreach, and today's guest is Yukai Chou, the founder of the Octalysis Group and Framework. Yukai, it's great to have you here.
Glad to be here.
Awesome. So just for our audience, can you maybe share a little bit about your background experience so they can get to know you better?
Yeah, so I'm an early pioneer in the world of gamification and behavioral design. I started all the way in 2003, so 22 years ago. And over the time period, I became a leader in the gamification world, wrote a book called Actionable Gamification, sold over 100,000 copies, just published my second book, 10,000 Hours of Play. And my design work through a variety of clients have impacted over 1.5 billion users around the world. I'm most known for this thing called Octalysis Framework, and because of that I was rated the #1 gamification guru in the world out of this list of 100, 3 out of 4 years. 1 year I was #2, and later they made me a judge, so I kind of got disqualified to being a guru. And I regularly share a lot of my work at places like Harvard, Stanford, Yale, Oxford, Tesla, Google IDEO. Yep, and running a consulting company, an education platform called Octalysis Prime, and a blockchain museum project called Meta Blocks.
Got it. Well, thanks for sharing that background. And just for our audience, we have a pretty funny story of how we met. I'd rather not use my own words for it, but I would love to have you kind of describe how that interaction went. And, obviously we built quite a relationship over the past decade. But yeah, maybe you could share with the audience how we got connected and why we're here today.
No, I have no idea how I met you. You're just one of the millions of people who want to talk to me.
Got it. But yeah, it was pretty interesting. I think I came across your blog around startups with your first company, and I was like, I really got to talk to this guy because I don't know anything about startup land, but you clearly know what you're talking about. And so I think I pestered you with like 6 or 7 different emails. Found out that you're local in Mountain View, just down the street. And you did mention, I don't usually answer cold emails from random people on the internet, but because you were so persistent, I said, all right, I got to give this guy a chance and talk to him. And now we're here. So
yeah, when you're persistent, you can reach anyone on top of
right.
Anyreach.
I like that messaging rather than being called annoying. Persistent is a much better framing of it.
Yeah.
And you've obviously had quite a career, and you've worked with some pretty big logos. As folks kind of think about gamification, it's more than just kind of like badges and points. It's really about kind of human behavior, psychology, and so forth. Can you maybe describe what sets the Octalysis framework apart from your traditional gamification approaches?
Yeah, so most gamification approaches, they just take these game elements, game mechanics, like you said, points, badges, leaderboards, leveling up, and they just slap onto boring experiences. So that's kind of like saying, I'm going to make a really boring game, but if you play this boring game 1,000 times, you'll get points, you'll get badges, right? That is very different from any good game design, and this is not why anyone loves playing their favorite game. So the Octalysis framework breaks down all human motivation to 8 core drives. So things like epic meaning and calling, doing something bigger than yourself, development and accomplishment, you're feeling you're improving yourself, you're achieving mastery, there's unpredictability and curiosity, and scarcity and patience. And so what's unique about those 8 core drives is that without these 8 core drives, there's zero motivation, no behavior happens, people drop out. So what we do is we try to create the right type of motivation. And some are more long-term, some are more short-term, some are intrinsic, extrinsic. Some make you feel powerful and control, but you don't have a sense of urgency. Some make you feel urgent and you even feel obsessed or addicted, but you burn out shortly after. So basically we map what's the interrelation between all of these core drives and how to replicate that experience inside any platform, which is why the Octalysis framework, like a game, is about creating the right emotional response as opposed to slapping on game mechanics.
Got it. And it's kind of interesting how you got into the space. We're both gamers in Asia, and there's a lot of relatability here. And I hear from my mom all the time, being a tiger mom, like, why are you playing games? It's such a waste of time. But really, kind of, you've taken all these core elements of game design and really applied it to kind of the B2B market, right? And how do you actually build better products, experiences, customer experiences, and so forth? As you kind of think about some of the games that you've played over your lifetime, how has that influenced kind of your approach today with the Octalysis framework?
I mean, the Octalysis Framework completely came out of my experience with games because games are basically motivation petri dish. Like every petri dish has like hundreds of millions of test subjects changing their behavior based on having more scarcity, having more epic meaning and calling. So you get to study that and see why people do these things when there's no requirement to do it at all, right? You never have to play a game. You have to do other things. Even if you don't like it, you do it. But for games, the moment's no longer fun, people leave. Even if it's amazing for 9 months, on month number 10, if it's not engaging, people leave. So when you look at behavioral psychology studies, usually it's like a professor with an undergrad room of 100 people, and he divides the room to half, and then there's a small delta, a little difference between them. And if one side does something different, not even all of them, it's like, 64% of that room did something as opposed to 52 of the other side, then that delta is scientifically proven, especially if they can replicate that, right, in different rooms. So we're talking about like 100 students who are there for a purpose, right? And they have to be there, versus games where hundreds of thousands, hundreds of millions of people voluntarily change their behavior. Of course, when we learn why people do things in games, we actually get a lot of insight in how the human mind works. So almost all of it is derived from games. But then later on, I did read a lot of books on behavioral psychology, economics, motivation, science, all that stuff. So that eventually rounded up the Octalysis framework.
Got it. And just for a little fun exercise, we're both gamers at heart, and you've mentioned to me that you got back into like League of Legends. Are there any like games right now that you're like super bullish on that you're playing outside of obviously the work-related items? Anything interesting there?
Well, recently I kind of went back to this game called Divinity Origin Sins 2, Original Sins 2, which is an RPG. You play through it. It's not like a evergreen, and the evergreen are real-time sucks like League of Legends, as you know. You never like complete the game, right?
Right.
Yeah. So it's an infinite cycle. So, but that game I thought it was brilliant, and I wanted to go play the studio's latest game, Baldur's Gate 3, which is very, very well known these days and famous. But I thought I should finish my playthrough on Divinity Original Sins 2. I've been playing that. And,
Got it.
And I keep having this back and forth relationship with World of Warcraft.
Oh, okay. You're still a WoW player. That's amazing. I mean, it's funny you mentioned, League never finishes. I mean, I'm a big Valorant player. It's all living under the kind of the Riot banner. And to your point, yeah, it never ends. You're stuck in this constant loop of addiction, and you keep wanting to play it. And as you kind of think about how AI is driving engagement, retention, things like that, where do you kind of see the miss and the mark around kind of human connection with kind of AI trends, especially as you kind of think about gamification and how that's going to
where they're missing the mark, as in they're not doing well?
Yeah, because a lot of AI tooling right now, or AI solutions, it's robotic in a sense, as folks think about it, right?
Yeah.
And it's
Yeah.
really kind of missing that human element. Yeah.
Yeah. So there's really two sides. One is what they're doing is terrible, and then the other side is there's a huge potential of what they could be doing and they're not doing. So in terms of what they're doing, I think it's just a lot of the AI is just really not that sophisticated. I like to call a lot of it artificial stupidity. So it's smart enough to be stupid, right? You wouldn't call us rock stupid, but you'll call maybe like a person who's not thinking much very stupid, because they have to be smart enough to reach that level of being called stupid, but it's still not impressive. It's still not smart. And so we interact with it, and then we realize, it's saying things that are just foolish and crappy, and it loses authenticity. It doesn't have that social relatedness. So I think when people see that, they immediately, it's not even like, instead of plus 10, you're plus 6, or you minus 5, right? It's like, why am I dealing with this? Like we recently, I just finished my second book, 10,000 Hours of Play. And to release it with a Kickstarter, we did say, hey, immediately if you do it, you'll also get a Yukai AI voice narrator for the audiobook, right? And we do want to we're working on a human narrated audiobook, but that one just obviously came out faster. So, and people listen to it, and if you just take small parts, like, hey, that does sound like me, that's cool, and it sounds natural, but obviously every 40 sentences, like, wait, why does Yukai sound like a robot, and he's dragging on slurs that doesn't even make sense. And so that breaks the experience, and that makes it a lot worse. So I think that's a big issue. Now, some people say over time it'll get resolved. So I'll have to see. I think the problem with AI also is right now what AI does is it learns everything on the internet, and it takes kind of like the average. So it predicts the most likely next word for it, right? Which means it's reproducing mediocrity. So if you don't know what you're doing, you have no idea, and you use AI, it's like, wow, look, it looks like I know what I'm doing. I'm like an average person doing it now. But when you're at a high expert level like I am, I look at it and it's like, oh, it's like a C- thing everywhere. It's really annoying.
Yeah, no, I think we're seeing that trend across the board as well from our podcast interviews and so forth, where AI is just good enough, but really you still need that human expert that can really evaluate the output and really kind of massage it. And you brought up a good point about changing the modality of some of the work you're doing. So when you think about a book, obviously it's text-based, but now you're using narration, and it's not quite there yet, but it is a new type of modality. How are you thinking about kind of the new trends in AI and how that's going to be impacting what you guys are doing at Octalysis?
Yeah, so there's generally input and output that it affects. So input is the creative side of things. I think it's good at helping you brainstorm, as long as you have someone who knows whether to fact check and say, hey, wait, this doesn't make sense. Why do you have these 7 problems? Like, oh, you're absolutely right. This makes no sense. These 7 problems should not exist. And then I'll give you a new round, and then you'll like, okay, but this still doesn't make sense. And then I'll give you some good ideas. Okay, so on the brainstorming side, on the analysis side, I think it's pretty useful. Like you guys, like people watching can do it at home. Like just ask ChatGPT, like say, if I was Yukai Chou but 10 times smarter, how would I use the Octalysis framework to solve this problem, right? And I'll give you, like I said, maybe a B- answer. So then the second part is, I think, very interesting, which is the output, which is giving people better feedback mechanics, better win state moments, and better triggers when they're using experience. So most of the time, in terms of software, when people do something cool and they reach a win state, it's usually a very canned response. Congratulations, you just finished level 1, right? And everyone sees the exact same thing. Now, what the AI can do is that congratulations, that win state moment could be completely personalized to exactly what you did. Like, wow, what you did at the second minute, 23 seconds, that was brilliant, that jump over there, right? Or you sold faster than everyone else. And hey, we have never seen someone below 25 years old do it before, because they know you're 24, right? Like, they just noticed that. So it's like, wow, that's cool. I never knew I would be the first person below 25 to do it. So that makes me feel extra accomplished. They can bring in epic meaning and calling. If they know you have some spiritual side, some religious stuff, they could say, wow, look, what you did is really fulfills this principle in your religion, right? So you're being really good with that. Obviously if they resonate with it, or they know they should give you more scarcity. If they say, yeah, you're awesome, they're like, come on, it's not that great. But if you say, like, actually that's trash, you did a little bit, but you shouldn't be too proud of yourself. It's pretty trash. You just did 1 out of 100 like problems at this point, right? And so the AI would know what is the best core drive to motivate you, the best way to implement and execute it. So suddenly you have personalized dynamic engagement with an experience. And I think that's something that's pretty exciting.
Yeah, I mean, we're definitely seeing that as well, where personalization and dynamic kind of interactions with people engaging with AI, especially with what we're doing here with voice. One of the things that we bring kind of to the enterprise table is like memory capabilities. Whether a person comes in from SMS or email, and maybe they call back like a week later, that we can actually personalize the conversation, right, based on all the data that we're able to source. And interestingly enough, we actually had a live caller where essentially they were talking to our bot about taking their kids to Tahoe, and our agent actually, when they called back in, said, hey, you called 2 weeks ago about taking your kids to Tahoe. I was just talking to my AI friends, just wondering what's the best place to hit the slopes in Minnesota, right? And that like piqued this whole interest, where the sentiment and the tonality and the rhythm of the person just kind of like increased into like a very positive manner. So yeah, to your point, I think AI being able to source through all that data and provide a personalized experience is going to be pretty key. And so as you kind of think about, the framework that you've built, from everything from like, loyalty programs, employee engagement, education and learning, what's one project or transformation maybe that you've done in the past, or more recently, that you felt like has been a pretty dramatic impact?
Okay, and does it have to be AI connected or not
Yeah,
necessarily?
it doesn't have to be. Yeah.
Okay, well, there's a lot of projects in education that I think
Mm-hmm.
are interesting. So a lot of different online schools in India, they're really trying to reach people in the foreigners. But I think I got to think about what are ones I can share more details and they're nice case studies. I'd say
Mm-hmm.
okay, well, one that's that stands out that people do, and I also have to say it's not just our company. It really is a student of mine, Ricardo, that did most of it. So this is so Ricardo, he has a company in Brazil that does gamification, and
Mm-hmm.
we do some advisory and partner with them. But they were working on the second largest public bank in Brazil, called the
Mm-hmm.
Caixa Econômica Federal, and they try to get all the employees, I think like 60,000 employees across 4,800 banking locations to gamify
Wow.
their work, right? And it doesn't matter if it's a teller or HR or a financial analyst, everyone needs to gamify their task. And I can go into more detail, but the goal was to increase the bank's reoccurring profit by 5%, which
Mm-hmm.
sounds really hard when they're already the second largest in the nation, and Brazil is a big
Mm-hmm.
nation. But if everyone was excited about their work and passionate, I mean, theoretically they should be making more money, right?
Right.
But they actually met the 5% goal within 3 months,
Wow.
and so they're like, okay, should we keep going this year? Like, yeah, keep going, do more of this, and then eventually they increased recurring profits by close to 50%, which at the time of conversion was 1.06 billion US dollars extra profits. And so because of that, Kaija rose from the second largest public bank to the number one biggest public bank. So it's notable and cool
Wow.
because, right, it's a billion extra dollars and it got number two to beat number one. So I thought that's a
Yeah.
cool case study.
Well, that sounds pretty impactful, and it's a pretty interesting case study. If you think about a more specific use case and the user in mind, you mentioned tellers and so on and so forth. What do you think, as you applied kind of gamification and so forth into that process? What was the biggest impact, if you could share it, and it's not confidential?
I mean, the way they do, again, reoccurring profits as a bank is really just having more people sign up to, loans, right? And so
Mm,
loans is they have to pay their interest, so that's their reoccurring profits.
mm,
Whatever leads to that was the most impactful. But obviously, everyone has a job for a reason. Everyone supposedly is contributing to the revenue of the company in some way,
right.
directly or indirectly, right? So just everyone was just excited to get more done because I mean, again, the details of the design. It's in a case study. I just don't know if we have enough time to talk about it. But basically, it's that whenever they hit a milestone in their KPIs, it's as if they're opening a treasure box. So they have way more
Mm,
excitement getting their KPI activities done.
got it. Got it. And as you kind of think about, the folks you're chatting with, enterprise clients and so forth, have you heard anything kind of in the space about how they're thinking about AI? Any kind of recent trends that you're starting to see a kind of a pattern around?
Yeah. A lot of startups and just tech companies, just companies in general, like apps or websites, they all have this AI angle they want to incorporate. And now the difficulty on our part as designers is that we don't know how smart the AI is going to be. Is it going to be artificial intelligence or stupidity, like I said, right? So we don't know how much we should create the design, assuming it's really smart. And like even if it will get smarter later on, if the first year it just makes everyone upset, that's not a good design, right? So
Mm,
but they would be developing the AI the same time that we're designing it. So of course in
mm,
their minds, like, yeah, we're gonna make something really great, but of course it's not perfect. But go and say like how will we create an experience around this AI we're doing? So we would do that, but again, it means that if the AI is not perfect and impressive, and the whole experience falls apart. So I think that's the
right.
difficulty for our work. But we're looking at something like that in every project, from like nutrition app, taking pictures of food, and the AI tells you how many calories it has and does it fit your diet, to but like all that dialogue of a virtual coach, all that stuff is in the works of most clients.
Yeah, and I think you bring up a good point. Like, AI needs to be strategic. You don't just kind of slap it on. It needs to, add value, and it needs to be sophisticated and smart enough to actually derive that value. And if you don't do it right, you might end up in a worse place than if you just didn't do AI at all. So, and obviously you mentioned that with the Octalysis framework, 1.5 billion people or interactions and impact. Where do you see the future of gamification and behavioral design, and then how's AI going to look like embedding into that in the next, say, 3 to 5 years?
Yeah, I think right now, if companies apply gamification, it's still a competitive advantage. So, just like we see, like Duolingo is the strongest performer in the language learning space. Or like, again, gamifying the bank makes you number one in the nation with extra $1 billion. I think in 2 or 3 years, companies will have to adapt gamification just to, stay competitive or not fall behind. And then I think in 5 years, companies will have to adapt it just to survive. And I don't think I'm exaggerating, because if you think about this, especially for a new generation company, right? If one side, when you give them money, they just give you a product and you go home and that's it. The other side, it's a relationship. You're engaging with the brand. They're making you feel like a higher meaning and purpose, right? You're making the world better by being their customer, and therefore you're loyal. You're interacting with the community. You're feeling like a sense of growth. They remember their interactions with you and everything you did with them for the past 10 years, right? You feel more fulfilled with them. You're obviously not going to just get an object. You want to have that relationship. And if you're a good talent and one company just says, we'll pay you money and you just gotta grind. We'll just, just get your heads down and get your work done because we pay you. And the other one's like, hey, let's give you a sense of meaning and purpose, a path to mastery, just like to give you autonomy and freedom and give you like social appreciation. Like who's gonna want to work at the company that says we pay you, we give you a paycheck, so just suck it up, right? So I think in the future, it's like if you don't start applying these principles, you're just gonna you just won't be able to attract good talent, can retain them, and customers will just go to your competitors. So I do think it's not because I'm in the field I'm like giving this hyperbole. And I can give you like even what I've seen, like one of the biggest company, like a few biggest companies in the world, they've reached out to me, and sometimes from a Singapore office, sometimes from like Europe or US, and like one head of innovation person came to me and said, hey, Yukai, obviously everyone's talking about gamification now, and we suddenly have all these mid-sized competitors trying to eat our lunch, and it's obvious, this is his words, not mine, like it's obvious they all read your book, so we want to hire you to, we want to bring the master to teach us how to beat all the students, right? And so what he's saying is that, look, other companies that are adapting these things are already out competing the big companies, and so they have to do it too. So again, it's not just the US, it's in many different countries. So I don't think it's hyperbole, it's really what I see as a potential reality. Now, it could be not 3 to 5 years, could be 7 to 8 years, I don't know. But obviously, it's the best to do something when it gives you a competitive advantage. You don't want to wait until you're only doing to stay alive, right?
Right. And no, I think you bring up a good point. I mean, applying gamification and game design really just makes happy employees, happy customers. You just build a better, company and business. It's definitely an adoption that needs to happen sooner rather than later. And so, as you kind of think about internal operations, you did mention some of using AI for kind of research, insights, and so on and so forth. Are you using any sort of AI products personally, and what does that look like for your day-to-day workflow?
I think I'm like most people, use some ChatGPT, but sometimes when I'm curious, I'd have 4 tabs with ChatGPT, with Grok, with Gemini, with
I literally do the same thing.
Yeah. And then whatever I ask, I would just paste, and as it's coming up with the answer, I just paste in all 4 of those tabs, and I would score them. But just obviously they're always like having this huge update that's transformatively better than the last one. But the last few times I tried, ChatGPT either is always a solid first, and all of them, or at least like a second. So I'm like, all right, then I'll just stick to ChatGPT until one day I do the experiment again and something else because is just way better. So yep. And I used to use more Midjourney, but because I'm not the person on my team that creates the graphics and whatnot, so I'm like those people who realize, hey, I've been paying this for like 9 months and I'm not using it, so I probably will cancel it until I start using it again. But people in my company use that. And so I don't think because those tools are already pretty powerful, and then there's like random like SEO tools that have some SEO baked or some AI baked into them and whatnot. The nice thing is some of them are so seamless I don't think about them, but there's ones that I just get really annoyed, like when I'm doing any kind of Word doc or spreadsheet, and it's like, hey, tell AI what to do. Can you like change the document to like this to this? Can you do this? And they just give me a lot of annoying things that waste my time. And I hate it also when search functions are replaced by AI. It's like, I just want to search for these 2 keywords, and then it tries to give you like some paragraphs of answers. Like, no, I want to find the document, that has this. So so there's actually a lot of places, even my Apple computer, the little AI Apple Intelligence that pops up annoys that. Like I turned off the hotkey to activate it, because whenever I accidentally hit the hotkey, it always like makes me upset. So
it's funny that you bring up the other side of AI tooling and the things that annoy you. Kind of to your point, one of the things that really annoys me is like my Gmail. Before I can start typing an email, like Gemini pops up and it's like, hey, let me write something for you. And then like it just automatically starts triggering an AI prompt. And I'm like, no, I just want to type. Can you go away? It's kind of like Clippy back in the days with Microsoft. It just butts its ugly head. And I think you're the second person I've come across that actually has multiple models opened up as tabs where you're running them all concurrently. That's something I do myself because obviously I use a lot of reasoning models to do different parts of my work. But I think you're the second person in terms of productivity to actually use multiple different models running in parallel to get the job done.
And of course, I have tech teams, dev teams. They really like to have Copilot on the whole time. One of the my friend June, who is a product manager at Google. When he's like advising for startup, he says, every engineer should have Copilot. So so I think that's doing pretty well. Also, and some video stuff. I think especially with subtitles, the AI generates subtitles. When I make a speech,
like transcriptions.
When I was in Colombia and Peru, it's like I can make a speech and the AI instantly like pumps out subtitles at the bottom of the screen. So those are ones I use too.
Yeah, no, actually, you bring up a good point on like audio and so forth. One of the things that I was doing at a recent conference was I realized I was like, talking to a bunch of folks, but I wasn't able to record the interaction. I also wasn't able to record the video and audio of that lead acquisition. And so I had this like little hack that I'm trying to build out where I got some meta classes where I can record, take some pictures of like people's badges, obviously with consent, and then having a little pendant to actually record the conversation, so all that like in-person interaction doesn't get lost or it just gets stored in my memory. So I'll let you know how that goes, but trying to bring physical AI into my day-to-day interactions. So
just getting consent with all of it feels weird.
Hey, can I record you?
Yeah.
You don't know me, but
can I take a photo of your badge right now? Can I take a photo of your badge?
We'll see how it goes. It's going to be like an experiment there, see if people actually accept it, but who knows. All right, awesome. Well, Yukai, thanks again for jumping on to Anyreach Roundtable. I'm sure our audience is really going to get some amazing perspectives and insights around what you're doing with Octalysis Framework, behavioral design, and so forth. If the folks want to find you, where can they find you, the company, where should they look?
The most central part is my blog, yukaichou.com. If you Google, gamification framework, gamification expert, it'll probably take you to my blog first, top 2 results. If you go on ChatGPT and ask who's the #1 gamification guru in the world, it'll most likely say my name. And so you can go there, and then it'll send you into my X and my book and my consulting company. So that's probably the most central place.
Got it. And you also have a Wikipedia page. So there's that too. Yeah.
You can go check it out. It's only like 96% accurate, I would say though.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, Yuka, I appreciate you jumping on for Roundtable, and it's been a pleasure.
Same here.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.